Boo. Let's do this. Okay, yeah. Okay. Da, 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 da. Okay. Okay, 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 okay. Okay. So, what was I thinking about? Oh, yeah. Yeah, nothing changes. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I should probably turn down the volume. It's a bit too loud for me. Who cares? Well, okay. Hey, get your shit together. Ow. Okay. Stream starting now. Hey. Hi. I don't know where I was for a hot minute. I disappeared somewhere. Who knows where? It's not that big of it. Where I can't tell. I can't tell what is going on. I don't know. It's me talking to myself again. I don't know how to describe it. Never mind. Let's just get into what I wanted to talk about. First of all, I wanted to bring up. Okay, we're talking about parasocial relation. My bad. We were talking about parasocial relationship last time, so I want to get into a different behavior. Okay, no, not rather new page. Let me go to a different section entirely. Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. Paraphilias, not paraphilias. Actually, I wanted to talk about individuals of interest. Interest. Okay. Note. The interest today named Amos Yee. Amos Yee. And Amos Yee. I don't know I know how to pronounce that. I'm not dumb. I am dumb, but like still. Amos Yee. Who is this guy? Well, to summarize it quickly, Amos is a YouTuber, or was a YouTuber, who gained notoriety. I don't know how to spell that. From being arrested in Singapore for violating, I don't say hate speech laws. I forgot what type of law it was, but I think it has something to do with religious unrest. Religious unrest laws. So Amos Yee particularly got famous for, being a kind of free speech figure, right? He got arrested for speaking his mind against, I don't know, a dead politician at the time, and that got him arrested in Singapore. I don't know why that's illegal there, but I don't think it's like an absurd law. I think you shouldn't. Sure, it doesn't matter too much. What was I thinking about again? Yeah, I was thinking about Amos Yee. So, why am I particularly giving a shit about him? Let's take a look at his Wikipedia page real quick. Amos Yee Pang San, his full name. In March 2015, shortly after the death of Lee Kuan Yew, the former Prime Minister of Singapore, Yee uploaded a video to YouTube criticizing Lee. In the video, Yee compared Lee to Jesus and cast both in what was considered an obscene and disrespectful light. Keep in mind, Yee was about 16 to 17 at this time when he got arrested in Singapore for his, critique of the Prime Minister. Right? Quite obscene, quite disrespectful, but who cares? Anyway, he got arrested for that, and lots of people internationally started crying free speech. You should be allowed to criticize your leaders. You should be allowed to say bad things or good things or whatever it is about political figures. I don't know, I kind of agree with that, but yeah. Regardless, free speech advocates kind of were on his side. Everybody, at least internationally, there was this big outcry for his freedom because, again, free speech and all that. So he sought asylum in the United States and became a resident. Not a resident. He became an asylum seeker in the United States. Now, why am I particularly giving a shit or talking about this weird guy who is apparently a refugee in the United States for whatever reason? There's a lot of baggage there, but none of that is really relevant to what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is his that's what I want to talk about because that's an area of interest of mine. So he is a self-admitted pedophile, right? He admitted, or he does have multiple videos or posts of his claiming that children should be able to consent to some weird behavior. Now, give me a second. Let me try to find a fun little video of him talking about his odd views or odd attraction. Okay, I found something. This news agency has really been putting in a lot of work towards documenting his activity and his status in the country. That's Amos Yee walking somewhere where he gets slapped across the face for obvious reasons because of his advocacy for, child molestation, pretty much. Okay, so why do people want to slap Amos Yee as he walks across the street, or as he pretends to be, as he acts like a quote-unquote normal person? Well, the reason why he keeps getting his ass beat and he keeps getting, and he keeps getting, I don't say not harassed, but kind of countered by the public is because of his weird, beliefs about child molestation generally, and for good reason too. I think it is good that he gets his ass beat at least to some degree, because Amos is, a self-admitted child abuser, and he wants to abuse children. He blatantly says as much in blog posts and all that. Let me even show this. There are many videos online. If you simply Google his name, you'll come to see many videos and interviews with him, talking about his attraction to children. And you can watch that on your own time. Just look it up on YouTube and watch a couple of videos, and you'll get the gist of generally what type of person he is. But let's take a look at something that I think is more interesting. Not just, let me say more interesting, but just as interesting. His okay, pretty much after he got arrested and convicted of wanting to diddle a child and child pornography laws. Yeah, after getting arrested for over breaking child pornography laws, he was put in prison for about a couple of years, like 6 years or so. But he was released on parole recently, not long ago, where he broke his parole order and got arrested again. I wonder what his parole order was, but I think it had something to do with not being allowed on the internet anymore, or he was in contact with children or something, which is kind of, to put it mildly, it's somewhat concerning. If you take a look at this over here, he's very clearly just on the sex offender registry. You know, taking a quick look at him, you can see him right there. But what I think is interesting is that pretty much this guy is a known danger to society, yet for whatever reason, no the judge or whoever it is that gave him a sentence, of course it's a judge, thought it would be a good idea to, let this guy out on parole. He's been on good behavior in prison, so clearly he must be able to manage himself in society again. But no, that is not the case, because as soon as he was released for parole, he was again arrested again because he probably violated his parole order. Let's read a blog post from him that came out late last year. Well, here we are back again. The longer I'm a public figure, the more I appreciate just how much people have cared about my story. Unlike how I was 3 years ago, I won't take that for granted. Hi again. I'm so excited that I am out and able to share some of my writings to you all. What? Yeah. For those who don't know, I spent 3 years in American prison for exchanging nude pictures with a 13-year-old when I was 20. With the wonderful help from this country called New Days Apartments, who specializes in helping sex offenders to get housing, food, and employment, when they've just been released from prison. I am now released on parole and residing in a house in, I don't care, somewhere in Illinois, with 2 other sex offenders. I got a device locked onto my leg to track my movement. I am only allowed out of my house from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. until the parole ends on 8th October 2026. He didn't last this long, by the way. He violated it, as you can tell, since he's back in prison. Subject to my early release for good behavior. It's exactly as I speculated. It's because he was on good behavior in prison, probably because he, according to him, read a lot of books or so. Maybe that's why he was released early. Aside from that, let's continue. And because of the sexual nature of my crime, I am now a registered sex offender. That means my name, what my crime was, and my home address will be available to the public on a website. Good. I am not allowed to live in a house that's near a place with children, kindergartens, parks, etc., or go to places where children are. Not sure if that's possible or if the rule is strictly enforced. It should be. The difficulty of finding an apartment that fulfills those rules and not being able to interact with children might be an inconvenience. I wonder why. But my personal information being made public isn't too bad, since I've been a celebrity since I was 13 and I'm used to it. And it doesn't matter if this permanent record hurts my employment opportunities, because I hate generic 9-hour a day jobs, and I'm already, as you can see, a freelance blogger. Okay, what is a New Days Apartment? Very interesting concept. Free housing and that's what this place is. It's a place for sex offenders to find free housing and all that, from what it seems. New Day Apartment specializes in providing housing to sex offenders required to register on the About Us. New Day's mission is to make communities safer. So these are just houses filled with rapists and shit. I shouldn't say shit. Sorry, shit. Fuck. My bad. I shouldn't swear. Um, I'd much rather have a sex offender living at an address than wandering the streets of on in my town. I kind of agree with that. I think this place is good. I think it's good to have places, houses, and areas for sex offenders to just stay on their own, because at least you know where they are at that point. Right? It's not this mysterious thing, right? Oh, pedophiles are free, roaming the streets. Yeah, at least now there's a place where you know they are, at least clearly. And if these kinds of people don't really get housing, they might try something stupid and dangerous. So it is what it is. Anyway, what was I thinking? I was thinking about something. Yeah, Amos Yee, not Lee, Amos Lee. So yeah, according to him, inappropriate sexual intentions with a 14-year-old. Clearly, he is a danger to everybody around him. And if I'm not certified to do that, I'm just spitballing shit, right? Just talking out of personal observation. I think that he is of high risk of recidivism, he's at high risk of committing this exact same offense again. He really just should not be allowed in public, because again, he will definitely do this again. Sorry to the fans who have been interested in hearing from me, if I still have any, that they had to wait 3 years before an update. Most people probably wouldn't fault me for that, because I was in prison. I don't know why. Though actually I did want to post something from prison and had written 5 complete blog posts, but the person who was supposed to help me got busy afterwards and there was no one else to help. So I'm guessing for 3 years you've heard occasional updates on my arrest, yet nothing from anyone who was involved in said arrest. So as the wise man once said, it's my turn. During my sexual relationship with my 14-year-old victim, he puts in quotation marks, I never manipulated her into doing anything sexual. Whenever she sent me nudes, she did it willingly. A lot of times, she flirted with me and encouraged me to send more nudes. We basically had a standard boyfriend-girlfriend relationship for about 3 months that would be considered perfectly consensual if my girlfriend wasn't underage. Okay, yeah. Yes. I know it's shocking, but maybe you shouldn't, sext minors. Now, if you want my full opinion on pedophilia and the morals of having sexual relations with someone underage, I recommend reading these 2 short posts of mine. Why we should defend pedophiles and pedophile right activism helps children. I'm definitely gonna read those, but yeah. But in summary, I believe there's enough life experience and scientific evidence showing that most sexual relationships between adults and children have been consensual and beneficial to both sides. I do not know where he got this from. I don't know what the scientific evidence he's talking about is, because from all the past couple of years of research I've done into pedophiles and pedophile behavior, I have yet to see excuse me, I have yet to see any actual evidence, not even any scientific evidence supporting the idea that inappropriate relationships between, adults and children somehow suggests any kind of like anything that isn't maladaptive or extremely dangerous. But he can say what he thinks, he can say what he wants. It is what it is. You should definitely imprison adults who sexually force themselves onto children, but if the act isn't forceful, then there is nothing wrong. You shouldn't say a relationship was an act of manipulation or rape just because a child was involved. You need actual evidence of force or harm for the act to be immoral. Mm-mm. Noted. Uh, so yeah, imprisoning me for my relationship with a 14-year-old who I never manipulated, who willingly um, played with themselves to those nude photos and encouraged me to continue sending, and also the fact that I just spent 3 years in prison and my supposed 14-year-old victim was literally gloating online about how she got me sent to prison. I think people should reconsider who the real victim is. Okay. He Okay, so clearly he's the innocent little victim and not a 13-year-old child. You see, he's the victim because the 13-year-old child reported him, got him arrested. He got arrested for sexting a 13-year-old child, 14-year-old child, but he's the victim here. It's ridiculous, it's unjust. I think this sort of thing it's ridiculous, it's unjust. I think this is the sort of thing that if it happened to most people, they'd never post anything online again. Start living a very private, secluded life, and start irrationally hating people and being needlessly wary of their intentions. Would sink into some deep-seated trauma and depression and would take decades of therapy to recover back to any semblance of sanity. Yeah, but you definitely don't need to do any of this because you're a strong person, aren't you, Amos? You're a very mentally strong person, that's definitely what you project. Um, Fortunately, though, I'm not like most people, and frankly, if I develop another close relationship with someone underage that I am sexually attracted to, I'd break the law again. Interesting guy. Interesting guy. Very interesting guy. Um, yeah, he'd definitely do it again. That doesn't surprise me. Like I said earlier, people like him have a very high rate of recidivism, not simply just because he is a pedophile. I mean, that's also a factor, but the fact that he is so shameless about it and so openly, so openly talks about how he would do this exact same thing again. Yeah, I'd break the law again and do something sexual with that kid. So yeah, it is what it is. How this kind of guy is allowed to walk again after like 6 years is astonishing. I don't understand why why his sentence was so short. What was I reading again? I'm not saying just this, Yeah, I'm not saying just this. From my history in Singapore, deliberately speaking out against the government and getting arrested, that I consider it an honor to break unjust laws. Okay, it's unjust to arrest pedophiles. Literally months before I was released from prison, I was interviewed and told every police and parole officer that I didn't think I should have been arrested and that I defend pedophiles and that I support NAMBLA. Yet they still let me out of prison, which they should have because I should be innocent. But in terms of enforcing the law and keeping kids safe, it just doesn't make any sense. NAMBLA, I'm gonna get into these weirdos, these interesting people soon. But yeah, I don't know how I don't know in what world his parole officers and the police heard this guy talk about speak his mind to them, and they still thought it is even slightly reasonable to let this guy just walk out on the streets. So the big question is, what do I plan to do now? My plan is to go back to Singapore. I really hope he gets shot. Now, for those who don't know, when I was 16, I was arrested in my home country of Singapore for making a video criticizing the conservative government for its lack of free speech and capitalist policies that didn't provide enough healthcare and living aid for the poor. I came to America when I was 17 because I didn't want to go to a Singapore prison ever again. So I was granted asylum in America and allowed to stay. However, because I committed a crime in the United States, I was told by my lawyer my asylum status could be revoked and there's a risk that I could be deported back to Singapore. On the other hand, I also heard that I actually could stay in the US because there's enough evidence to show that I was tortured in Singapore and that could be granted, and that would have to be granted safety despite the fact I still committed a crime. Why does the US government, have to protect this guy simply because... Okay, never mind. Not my problem. Another important thing, Singapore has a mandatory 2.5-year military training called National Service for male citizens aged 18 and older, which I am probably due for because I become 25 on October 31st. Sorry, I yawned. My understanding is that if I go back to Singapore, I'll serve a prison sentence for skipping national service, and afterwards I still have to serve that 2.5 years in the military. If I refuse to serve, I'll spend 2.5 years in military prison. So knowing all that, this might lead you to wonder, why the fuck would I go back to Singapore? Surely staying in the United States, I might have to serve 3 more years in a movement restricted parole and be registered as a sex offender for life. But in Singapore, I'll be sent to prison for skipping the military, and afterwards I'll still be at risk of getting arrested whenever I criticize the government, which is what I wanted to avoid by escaping to America in the first place. What am I thinking? He asked himself. Okay, so he's gonna get arrested when he goes back to Singapore for skipping military service, and that would be a better alternative to staying in the United States, serving his remaining 3 years at the time of posting this, and also being registered for life, put on this registry. He's going to be here forever. This page you see here is just going to be here permanently, right? Especially because he violated parole. I don't know why they just let this guy on the street. They should have contacted at least, or they should have at least just like, why was he even let out on parole just because of good behavior? I mean, he clearly intends to break the law again. But who cares? But the reason I am choosing to go back is because it's not about my safety. It's not about myself. It's about providing value to to people's lives. I wonder what value he provides. Both my political writing and my willingness to be arrested to protest unjust laws. I think I contribute the most to the world by working in Singapore. I've developed a lot over these past 3 years. In fact, in the past few years in prison, the past 3 years in prison might have been the best years of my life. Not because prison itself, of course, because everyone knows prison sucks, but mostly because of the 400 books I read, mostly on meditation and religion, and the hundreds of hours of mindfulness meditation I did over the past 3 years. In the solitude of a cell, as I explored in the recesses of a mind, I realized I had been imprisoned by anxieties and the constant fear of failing and not being good enough. But I slowly cultivated the love and acceptance that is within us all. I made friends with my demons and started looking at life with a clearer mind. Wow, he became enlightened. he found enlightenment. And then it slowly dawned on me. I came here to America because I was afraid of the Singapore government being in the Singapore afraid of the Singapore government being in a Singapore prison, being hated. But despite all of that, that's where I belong. Singapore has people and culture. It has the people and culture I'm most familiar with, and it's the place where my heart can be, my impact can be most felt. I wanted to avoid the fire when I really am the fire. So I'm going back home, even though the Singapore government blah 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 blah. I don't fucking care. Excuse me, sorry. Now the strange thing to me is, how am I out free in America now? My lawyer told me that once I'm released from prison, immigration would pick me up and deport me back to Singapore. Yet for some reason, hasn't picked me up. Immigration hasn't picked me up, and for my entire prison sentence, I didn't hear any news of any warrant for my arrest from ICE. If I don't get deported back to Singapore, I might have to serve parole in America for 3 years before being allowed to receive travel documents to go back. So I could be back to Singapore in a few months or a few years, but who knows? What is clear is that if I'm ever out of prison, I'll continue writing, which is my greatest tool, to inspire and gather God's chosen. I thought this guy was an atheist. I could have sworn this guy was an atheist. What? I could have sworn this guy was an atheist, but I mean, if the atheist, pedophile who got arrested, who feels no remorse for his action, starts, talking about cult stuff, maybe that's cause for concern. Maybe that's at least some level, or that's at least some cause for concern, because at this point you have to wonder, is this like some kind of preamble to him forming a cult or something? Because that's what it kind of seems like. But I don't know. It's concerning to say the least, but like not my problem, I guess. Not my problem, I guess. Yeah. What was I thinking about? I forgot what I was thinking about. Yeah, I was talking about this guy. Yeah, he wants to molest kids or something. I don't know. Wait. What is going on my screen? What is happening on my screen? Anyway, ignore what was just happening. What's I thinking about? Yeah, Amos Yee. Imagine my surprise that once I came out of prison after 3 years, I realized all my previous videos and blog posts have vanished from the internet. I thought I did my best work in my writing on the now removed site Polosicle. Those blog posts were posted just 4 months before I was arrested for the incident with the 14-year-old, and and content continued to be posted by me up until I was arrested in October of 2020. Fortunately, they are just text posts and easy to archive. So here's the link. Okay, so he did save his own, frankly, degenerate blog posts. Other than wanting me to change my name, me being an atheist, and the posts on utilitarianism, I still hold all the same opinions. Okay, so he's no more an atheist, it seems. I'd say that the videos I made starting before the Polosicle website that led to my initial popularity isn't that representative of who I am right now. Plus, I literally can't find any of them on the internet and don't have any copy of those videos at all. Also, if you're a fan, make sure to take down Yeah, take down, remember the URL of my website. Blah 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 blah. I don't care about any of that. Oh, that's his email. Yeah, that's his email. I don't know who these two guys are, but liking this post is questionable to say the least. Um, yeah. So pretty much, this guy has made it abundantly clear what his, I don't know, intentions are, what his likes are. So I think this guy's dangerous. Wow, no shit, right? But let's continue looking at his blog posts. Yeah, this is the one on the Polo Circle about why we should defend pedophiles. Okay, this is gonna be a fun read. August 2022. Okay, so I assume this was just before he was arrested. Give me a second, let me yawn. Okay, what were you looking at again? Yeah, this Chris. Oh, don't tell me it's an actual person. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, then. We can look into that later. Okay, Chris was a 14-year-old Boy Scout. Gary, the leader of the Scout group, was an adult. They were very close and eventually decided to move their relationship to the physical level. On Chris's suggestion, they both had intercourse. It was Chris's first time. Chris, as a teenager, was confused about this encounter, and eventually told the counselor that he thought he could not trust the experience. The counselor reported this incident to the police, as he should. Chris insisted Gary did not exploit him. However, the counselor disregarded his feelings, insisting that Gary was a pervert and had used him, and he needed to be locked up. The police came and grilled Chris for 6 hours, harassing him until he told the police everything. Gary was convicted and sentenced to 3 months in county jail and 1 year probation. Why was Gary not just shot or something, or hung or something? Got 3 months. Got 3 months and thinks that's a bad thing. He got off way too easy. By the way, a child pornography conviction can usually be a maximum of like 30 years if you weren't aware. That's usually like the max. I don't know how these guys always manage to get like a couple months or at best like less than 10 years, but it is what it is, I guess. The incident emotionally scarred Chris, suffering 12 years of pain. He's finally coping to make amends. He tried to find Gary, hiring a locator service, but Gary had left the country and his new family in Germany. Gary did nothing wrong. All his sexual relationships that took place did so at my insistence. He even repeatedly made sure I was still willing to go ahead. Some people say that when I was not mature, that I was not mature to make decisions about intercourse at that age. To them, I say, bullshit. I'm not a stupid child. I was not a stupid child. For once, in the pedophile argument, there's a need to say, there needs to be a say of the real people involved. The young people who are not stupid, but caring, loving, sensitive people with feelings who can make decisions for themselves. Chris as an adult. So the news story, the news shows, I cannot read for shit. As the story shows, making sexual acts with children is illegal, no shit. Harms children. Placing a child's partner in prison not only causes the child to experience guilt for feeling like he was responsible for ruining the adult's life, but also the pain of having someone the child loves taken away from him. This kind of experience is traumatizing, especially for the child. a pain that they won't be able to get over for years, causing them to feel depressed and even suicidal. Ironic that many people claim that they want to imprison pedophiles to prevent child abuse, but the act of imprisoning a pedophile can leave emotional scars on a child, very similar to that of abuse, doesn't it? You know what's interesting about this? His only, the only defense so far I've seen for this argument is this hypothetical situation about these two characters that he came up with, ignoring the actual evidence and decades of research we have. Not to forget the research. Ask and this is it's dumb. He's dumb. He should be flogged for having such shit opinions. And of course, let's not forget the harm it causes to pedophile arrests child. Pedophile most affected. Wow. Think of the poor pedophiles. Oh god. Crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely. I don't know. Strange opinions, strange world. They could face 10 to 30 years of prison, and when they're released, they'll have a record on the sex offender registry, which prevents them from getting a job, a house, as well as having their personal information, name, picture, type of offense released to the public on websites. This lasts not just for a few years after the pedophile has served prison, but for life. Yeah, for very good reason. You should always have your face here, so that next time when you want to interact with a child, they can just look up your name and boom, there you are. Makes them less likely to get offended. Offender was 24 at the time. Okay, he was 24 years old when he did this. To defend pedophiles means to defend consensual acts with what? To defend pedophiles means to defend consensual sexual acts with children. Pedophilia is simply the sexual attraction to children a person is born with. That is not the definition of pedophilia. The speculation right now on the development of such a behavior is that it may be something someone is born with, but there is no concrete evidence to support that. But still, that's no excuse for such behavior. Anyway, let's continue. So, of course, having a sexual attraction to someone underage doesn't automatically mean they want to cause any harm. Any type of sexual act with children that is harmful, like the one that involves manipulation or force, and those mentally incapable to consent, most children ages 4 to 7 and babies. Okay, should obviously be illegal, and most kids under 13 who aren't physically capable of handling that acts should also be restricted to being God. Of course, there's a risk of mistreatment if a pedophile is in a relationship with a child. However, there's a risk of abuse in any kind of relationship, whether it's two adults or with a child. And the reason why we continue taking part in these bonds is because abuse happens only to a small minority of cases. Most pedophiles don't harm children. They enter into an interaction with the child out of attraction and love. Wow, how beautiful, how touching. Oh God. It is estimated that 1 in 5 men show attraction. Where did he get this from? One in 5 show some attraction to children, and that for 0.5 to 5% of all males. This attraction is preferential. Female pedophiles exist as well, though in smaller number. And that means that there are probably as many pedophiles as there are gays. Oh god. And there are tens, if probably hundreds of millions of pedophiles who are completely innocent, yet they are treated with hostility from society, guilt for having their sexual attraction, fear of having their lives completely ruined if they're found out, and the feeling of danger that at any time they could be imprisoned or even killed. All this happened not because individuals have sexual attraction to a child is bad, but because most people think it is. Okay, let's take a look at the before you act. God damn it. Blah 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 blah. Puberty, this and this, this is just the usual. I like how Sato's name appears like everywhere. Whereas I'd be surprised if I didn't see. Oh, he's not here. And there's another guy whose research I really like. But yeah, I think this is a shit point. This is a very shit point, and I think this guy is stupid for trying to use, I don't know, scientific literature to kind of solidify his point on his weird attraction. We know you're weird. You don't have to justify yourself. If this guy had just kept all this shit to himself, or if he had, I don't know, tried to solve his attraction in a more reasonable way, maybe he wouldn't be in jail. But I think it's a good thing he's in jail, because that means he wouldn't be able to hurt other people. The injustice pedophiles face needs to end. We need to remove laws that penalize acts completely based on age, so that the parent never cause any of the in prison, blah 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 blah. Okay. There's more to read. Oh god, there's a lot. Why we should be honest. Oh. Wow. Oh, this guy's an intellectual. Okay, let's read the next. Oh god, these articles are terrible. How long is this one? Doesn't go that long. Pedophile rights activism helps children. Most children are able to consent to research on the mental health development of a child shows that at the age of 8, kids are generally able to express. Where did you get? You can't just say shit like this and then not give a source or something. You can't just say this kind of stuff and then not even like back it up with anything. You really just can't. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but still. At the age of 12, they are capable of abstract thinking, which means they can understand concepts like sexuality and love. Wow, that's crazy. Kid just learns what love means for the first time from, like, I don't know, a TV show or like a cartoon or something, and then that immediately gives you the permission to diddle them, molest them. Having age of consent laws, which penalizes acts with children below the ages of 12 to 18, restricts children from engaging in positive The effect of these anti-child abuse laws usually harms children. The child typically enjoys the experience, yet is pressured by parents and police to feel victimized and shameful, making them feel anxious and confused. Not to mention imprisoning the pedophile for years, which means separating the child from someone they genuinely love. The trauma of losing a loved one at such a young age can scar them for life. Of course, children have less mental development and life experience compared to an adult, so they are less likely to form rational decisions when they engage in such activities. However, less likely does not mean unlikely, and unlikely does not mean impossible. Research consistently shows that most relationships between children ages 12 to 18 are. Where is he getting this shit from? What research is this guy? What research is this nigga talk? Oh shit. Okay. Uh. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Forget I said that word. What research is this guy talking about? Because I have no idea where he gets this from. Even though it's rare, cases of positive interactions with children as young as 5 do exist, huh? Okay, pedophile rights activism seeks to achieve is, instead of people jumping to conclusions, merely hearing an 11-year-old and a 30-year-old look at the case with an open look at the case with an open mind, deciding if the act is normal not based on age but whether it is consensual. As I have written before, MAP rights activism doesn't help pedophiles who are innocent. It also helps children. Most pedophiles don't support rape, molest, or any kind of child abuse. Most pedophiles care about children who are. Oh my fucking god, this guy is delusional. Okay, who cares? What is this site? This seems interesting. I should probably take a look at this later. Well, regardless, I think that shows what kind of. I think generally we kind of get. This should give a sense on what type of person Amos Yee is. And again, I'll say this again. Why in God's name is this guy not in prison for the rest of his life? Why is he only there for like 6 years? Thank goodness his sentence isn't like concurrent. Right? Like his grooming of he only got 1 year for grooming a child, and he got 5 years for child porn possession of child. Why would they still call it child pornography? They call it like CSM or something, child exploitation. But yeah, it's not a concurrent sentence, so I don't know which. I think he served. I don't know which one. I don't know whether it's a shorter sentence or longer sentence he served first. But in general, he's serving 6 years. After 3 years into his sentence, which I think was last year, and the end of last year, he broke his parole. He was set out on parole, broke it, and got arrested. So I don't know. Clearly, he's going to do this exact same thing again. And I am concerned for the citizens of Chicago or the United States who have to deal with people like this just walking around. How do you get $1 million in bail, right? $1 million worth of bail, yet they still somehow think you should only serve a 6-year sentence and not something like 20 to 30, in fact, not just for life. Okay. So, back to the original topic. Let me point out, Amos Yee can be categorized as an unabashed pedophile. If you don't know what an unabashed pedophile is, it's just a pedophile who is not only in support of contact with children, but also holds the opinion that society is in the wrong for discriminating against such behavior. These kinds of people are typically what should be considered a danger to society, or the kinds of people you should consider just not having them walking among us, right, among the rest of society. But they do exactly that. And again, it is concerning, but what can you do? What can you do? We aren't I not the law. You are not the law, and the law is made up of law people. The court system, and the court system didn't see him as enough of a threat to lock him up for a long time. So it is what it is. When he gets out and inevitably molests another child, I wonder who's going to be at fault. Is it going to be him, or the people who let him go? I think a bit of both. But that's enough of that depressing topic. That's enough of that depressing topic. Okay. So, I'm gonna take a quick break to think about some stuff before. I'm not thinking about shit. I need to take a quick break to drink some water. Then we come back and move on to a different topic that is less gloomy. I'm back. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, I wanted to talk about a different topic that doesn't have to do with pedophiles. Let's do Capgras syndrome. Capgras syndrome. Syndrome. If you didn't know what Capgras syndrome is, Capgras syndrome is it's pretty much a condition where you can't, or you think, or it's a delusional type of syndrome or phenomenon that involves an individual not being able to associate feelings with a person that is familiar to them, like a family member. Yeah, let's take a closer look at this, at least from this research paper. Delusions of misidentification present in different forms, most of which involve an individual attributing a mistaken identity to the self or to a person, thing, or place. What I'm talking about particularly is the inability to attribute emotion. 2, familiar faces. This can be identified when like an individual can like they see a person in front of them and they know and they are told, and this person that they see in front of them looks like their mother, talks like their mother, but just doesn't feel like their mom, right? Let's say for example, you have Capgras syndrome. You see somebody, let's say your mom, standing in front of you, but she doesn't feel like your mom. You don't get that feeling you feel when you look at someone you recognize in your body, right, or in your brain or whatever. So you start to have this delusional thought that this person is a replacement of the person that you recognize. That person is not actually your mother, it is an imposter pretending to be your mom, right? It's an imposter. Your mom has been replaced by somebody because clearly the person you're looking at and talking to right now is not actually your mother, because they don't feel like your mother, at least not internally. The prevalence of delusional misidentification in general, in the general population, is difficult to ascertain, partly because the prevalence depends upon varying definitions of DMI. Among inpatient populations, DMI is estimated to be about 1 to 4%. Oh yeah, estimated to be about 1 to 4%. Capgras syndrome is the most common form of DMI and one of the most often examined in neuropsychiatric explanations of DMI. In the classic Capgras delusion, an individual believes a familiar person, such as a family member, is replaced by an imposter, by a saucy imposter or a double. In the Capgras delusion, named after French psychiatrist, I don't give a shit about John Joseph. With current emphasis on early intervention to reduce the duration of untreated psychosis and the improvement of prognosis associated with early treatment, it is all the more important to identify DMI early in the course of treatment. Capgras may not represent a distinct syndrome, but it might be best understood as one delusion among others commonly seen in schizophrenia and other disturbances of brain function, as suggested by Sinkman. We share his view. Both biological and psychological explanations offered Capgras. Historically, Capgras has been associated with the right hemisphere with right hemisphere brain lesions. Neuropsychological accounts of Capgras include Factor 1 and Factor 2 models. In the Factor 1 model, people with Capgras delusion are able to recognize familiar faces, but a neurological deficit prevents them from registering emotional significance of associated face, resulting in an inference leading to the Capgras delusion. This person looks like my mother, but seeing her doesn't feel right. She must be an imposter. Okay. It's Capgras can just easily be explained as delusions, right? It's pretty self-explanatory once I've already read it out. You can kind of get the general idea of what it is. The Factor 2 model holds that an anomalous experience of Factor 1 is not enough to explain a delusion. The second factor, described as a deficit in brief evaluation, is required to explain the presence of a delusional belief, despite ample evidence to the contrary. Miyazono and McKay integrate 1 and 2 factor models in a hybrid theory that invokes current theories of Bayesian predictive brain coding, in which Factor 1 is seen as a predictive error, as in an operator. This is useless. Where is the interesting part? Okay, this is just a case study. I think it's best if I just show you an example. Okay, let me check for a video real quick. Give me a second. Can't find anything particularly. Mm, okay, you know what? Let's just take a look at a slightly unrelated video that just seems interesting before we continue with Capgrass.
Can you tell me something about what was happening before you came to the hospital? How have you been feeling?
I've irritated so many people. I went so far that I can't go back to anything.
What do you mean? Are there people causing problems for you?
The head of the KKK, maybe? Or the county sheriff?
Do you know why they might want to bring you back to Indianapolis?
Because I started to tell them some things. But before I could tell them that, they brought me here.
What had you started to tell them?
By the way, if you don't know what a flat effect means, a flat effect just
About what might
means
be
you
a
don't
murder?
display like facial
An unsolved
facial
murder?
emotion or facial expressions.
Can you tell me about it?
Yes. It was about 8 years ago. I don't want to implicate other people, but they're going to have to answer. Everybody. For everything they've done. They're going to have to come out and tell it like it is. Take whatever's coming to them.
So can you tell me what happened 8 years ago?
I think it was about 8 years ago, I'm not sure. I was at my mother's house washing the car that belonged to my dad, and these guys pulled up in a van. Harold Shipley, Jim Tufford, and a guy that calls himself Killer Diller. His real name, I'm not sure. Anyway, we got in the car. Where we were going for sure, I don't even know. I can't remember. We didn't have any money, and we picked up this kid who was hitchhiking. And I was in the back of the van with this guy that I don't remember.
Okay, this video is a bit too disconnected from what specifically I was referring to with Capgras syndrome, because that's like an entirely different syndrome. But regardless of what that was, I think it's best we continue. Yeah, Capgras syndrome just involves not being able to recognize the faces of people you know. Okay. Okay, that seems to be about all for that topic. What other topic did I want to talk about today? I wanted to also talk about parasocial behavior. I want to make a video on that too. I noticed that among those that I mentioned, or last time when I streamed a while back, before I was busy with something, I was talking about parasocial behavior, right? Kind of getting too personally invested in somebody that you only know online, right? And I came to many conclusions that day about how this behavior manifests, but I also want to figure out its relation to online not just generally online, about like social media, for example. Like if you go on websites like Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, wherever it is, people tend to develop parasocial relationships with online figures to an unhealthy degree. Starting to feel personally invested in the lives of other people that you don't know. Empathy is a useful trait, it's a useful skill, it's a useful trait, but it's kind of become somewhat fetishized online, that they are expected to be empathetic to pretty much just anybody who you talk to, which is unrealistic and unreasonable, right? You're not just supposed to be empathetic to everybody that you know. Is not normal. It's not normal to just feel empathy for people that you don't even know or people you have no actual connection to. It's overdone, right? Especially when you get too connected to someone who you're not actually connected to, right? And when that person doesn't act in the same way you think they should, you start to feel personally attacked. That's why a lot of people tend to get pissed at streamers who are found with boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever it is, right? It's because these people don't, play into the viewer's idea of them in their head. But that is what it is, pretty much. And yeah, I intend to investigate it a bit further, get some more sources on it, get a better grasp of parasocial behavior online. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to observe some examples of parasocial behavior online. My particular group of interest is going to be like the VTuber community, or those who self-identify as VTubers online. I want to take a look at just how parasocial the fan base gets, or how parasocial the fan base gets, because no, that's a whole kind of worms, because then you'd have to get into idol culture, but that doesn't really apply too much thinking is what I think. Too much pointless stuff to think about. I'll get on with it at some other point, but I'm tired for today, so I'm just gonna call it there and stream again tomorrow or something. I keep saying that, but usually I don't. Usually because something always pops up out of nowhere against my will. But this time I'm actually being serious, because now I'm free. I'm free from all my concerns, and I can actually stream tomorrow. So I will be online tomorrow again. So bye. Bye-bye. Bye.